خارج از کشور.
توانا بود ارکی دانا بود، ز دانش دل پیر برنا بود.
دلوی او بکنگی خدای پنامه گران خدمت دوستانم سلام علیکم هیله چیرو خوشحال هوا موسی او دین رازیده به هنرانواده به اخبارونه دیر خیرابلاست زی مریم ارسلایم او دا اخبارونه تاسته دی آریانا افغانستان دی نریواله شبکه خبر دکام خدای دیوری چه دین رازیده به هنرانواده اخبارونه معلومات هم استاسو دی استفاده ورسیگی بینندگان عزیز و ارجمند برنامه دانش روشناهی است با آرزوی صحت و سلامت شما برنامه امروز آغاز می‌کنیم. امیدوار هستم که شاد و صحتمند باشین و هفته خوش و پرثمره در هر گوشه کنار جهان که هستین با فراز و نشیب زندگی باز هم با همدیگر با خوشی و آرامش زندگی کرده باشین و باز هم خوشحال هستم که در برابر شما عزیزان قرار دارم. در برنامه امروز 3 جوانه موفق را داریم که با امروز البته در مورد Afghan American Conference که هفتمین کنفرانسشان است امسال در شمال امریکا شمال کالیفرنیا معذرت میخوایم و از تاریخ 17 الی 19 جون که هدفشان برگزار کردن یک پروگرام است که بعد از مدت‌ها که به خاطر شیوع کرونا نتونستن یک برنامه لایف و یا گردمایی حضوری داشته باشن بعد از مدت‌ها میخواین که یک برنامه برگزار کنن و با وجودی که با تأثیر که دیوارهای جهل و ظلمت برای دخترای و دختران وطن و دختران مکتب آنقدر بلندتر و ضخیم‌تر شده و در ماتم و سوگواری مسئول شدن مکاتب هستند و ما شما هم اینجا امرایشان در غمشان شریک هستیم ولی پروگرام های تعلیمی ما اینجا ادامه داره و امیدوار هستم که جوانای عزیز ما در این برنامه ها می باشن و جوانای عزیز ما در اینجا تولد شدن و احساس وطن دوستی و وطن پرستی دارن. امیدوار هستم که اونا هم راههای داشته باشن که احساسات خود اونا هم میخوایم که بفهمیم که چی هست احساساتشان و چی کرده میتونن ولی متاسفانه که وقتی که قدرت ها نتونستن که یک تغییر بیاره وزیست که ما شما هر قدر که سوگ بگیریم و هر قدر که جگرخونی کنیم کدام مفاد نداره ولی امیدوار هستم که یک تعداد احساسات خود روی پرده عمل بیاریم و ببینیم که اگر بتونیم یک کمک خرد کوچک برای دختران عزیز در وطن خود کرده بتونیم و خوشحال هستم که 3 میمون عزیز جوان را داریم دوشیزه ندیمه صافی و همچنان سحرجان یعقوبی و آقای یوسف محمود که در گذشته هم مهمان ما بودن امروز از طریق زوم با ما میپیوندن و از اونا دعوت میکنم که خودشان باز قبل از اینکه در مورد خود یک ذره صحبت کنن در مورد این کنفرانس که است در 17 الی 19 جون معلومات زیادتر براتون ارائه کنن و حال خوش آمدید میگین با مهمانان عزیز خود. سلام خوش آمدین. I'm happy to have you guys. دوستان عزیز قسمی که میدارین که جوانای ما به اینجا تولد شدن صحبتشان به زبان انگلیسی می باشه. ندیمه جان شاید که دری هم صحبت کنن ولی ما یه آزادی رو میشه با مهمانای جوان میدم که به هر زبانی که آرام باشن با اون زبان صحبت کنن و بازم welcome to the program. Hello again.
Hello.
Okay, can you سلام خوش آمدین. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you guys. Happy to see you guys again.
Thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure. Even though it was last minute, but I'm glad I could squeeze you in.
We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Anytime, anything with education, it's an honor to serve education. If you could each please, maybe we can start with ندیمه جان. ندیمه جان اول خودت اگر خود معرفی کنی که چقدر مدت است که در این کنفرانس خودت کمک میکنی. Anything related, any related information would be great.
Sure. Salam برسد به همگی. Salam. نام است ندیمه صافی. I am the creative lead on the marketing committee of the Afghan American Community Organization. This is my second year that I've been part of the organization, and inshallah it'll be my first conference that I get to go to. I was a 2020 scholarship recipient from the Afghan American Community Organization as well, and I am based in Herndon, Virginia. And thank you guys so much for having me.
And where do you go to school? Nadima John, what are you majoring in? What year are you?
Yeah, so I graduated from the University of Colorado, Denver in 2021, so just last year, with my Bachelor of Science degree in Public Health.
Very good, thank you. Sahar John?
Hi, I'm Sahar. I am currently in Dallas. I am the communications lead for AACO. This is my first year being involved with the organization, and it has been amazing so far. I've not actually attended a conference yet, but I'm very, very excited to see everything that we have been working on kind of come to life this year. So very exciting.
How exciting. It's your first year, huh?
Yes.
بسیار خوب. خب یوسف جان؟
Salam everyone, my name is Yosef Mahmoud. I am the conference director for this year's Afghan American Conference, part of the Afghan American Community Organization. I've attended more than my share of conferences on behalf of Nadima and Sahar. I've attended 4 conferences in person, and then I was the conference director last year when, due to COVID-19, we had a virtual conference, which was attended by about 140 participants across the country and across the world. But we're very, very excited to have our first in-person conference in over 3 years this summer in UC Davis. So we're all very excited about it, been working hard on it, and really happy to be able to bring our community together after we've had to be separated for so long, and to tackle so many of the issues that have been piling up over the past several years, unfortunately, both here and back home in Afghanistan.
Very good. بسیار تشکر. خب مهمان عزیز، در شروع میخوایم بفهمم که احساسات شما در مورد مسدود شدن مکاتب برای دخترها چی است؟ What I want to know about each one of you. How do you guys feel? What are your thoughts about Taliban's closing school on our girls?
I can start off, and then I can pass it off to both Sahar and Nadima, who I think their opinions matter probably a little bit more than mine. But obviously, it's a tragedy. It's the only real word for it. A society and a country can't function when you deprive half of the population of the right to a full education. It's holding. It's not only a problem for each of those individual girls who are not going to be able to receive the education, but it's holding back Afghan society as a whole by not providing half the population with education. And we see how successful Afghan women can be here in the United States. We see it with our Afghan American Community Organization, where over half of our attendees at the conference are women, where the executive director of our organization is a very accomplished woman, Zakia Nazarzai. And we have so many accomplished members of our community who give back, who participate in the highest levels of government here in the United States, who are doctors, who are lawyers, who are engineers, who are professors, and are contributing to society here, and have that same capability to contribute and rebuild Afghanistan. And for them to be deprived that chance is just going to hurt us as a community as a whole. And these are the types of things that we hope to address as part of our organization and to fight to remedy. But that's my general thoughts on it, and I don't want to take too much time away from Nadima Sahar to weigh in as
Very
well.
good. Thank you. Nadima John?
Yeah, I also, just to echo what Yusuf John said, I find it extremely disheartening. Just last year, like I mentioned, when I graduated from the University of Colorado, Denver, when I was holding my diploma, that's a feeling that I think everyone deserves, especially these young girls in Afghanistan. They work so hard. All of these girls in Afghanistan, the boys too, but I mean, you're told your whole life that you're not going to be anything, and then they work so hard to get there, and now their chances are being ripped away from them. I even had told all my family members that inshallah one day I aspire to go to Afghanistan and help everybody there in any way that I can. And I feel like progressively, especially ever since August of last year, that's being stripped away from me, as well as everything for these girls over there. When I was standing on that stage holding my diploma, in my eyes, I could just see the girls over there. And it was right around the time that there was another like bombing in one of the schools in Afghanistan too. And just I feel like there's never a break that they can catch. There's always something. And then now it just really sets us back as a community.
Mr. Khosar John?
Yeah, this is absolutely heartbreaking, and I have to be careful so I don't get emotional, but it's just, you know, being raised in America, we take education in school for granted sometimes, but just being able to read a book or to write, that's something these girls are dreaming of. And it is a powerful tool. Like, education is so powerful, and they are not given access to that. And it's just setting us back and not giving us our full potential to kind of achieve what we are capable of.
Yes, thank you. So, in you guys' opinion, what do you think we can do to help them, or how can we help? Yusuf John?
It's a tough question.
Very tough.
We can continue to advocate here in the United States. I think we can. I think an issue that we have is that the United States was fine making a deal with the Taliban, but then has also to allow them basically to take over the country, but then has withheld funds, much needed funds from the country to keep its people from starving, and have withheld money that belongs to the Afghan people. And I think that is tied to the situation right now, because we could if we had regular relations with the Taliban, I think we could apply more diplomatic pressure to remedy this situation a bit more, and to bring them more into the public fold, to keep Afghanistan part of the public stage. I think we have to keep advocating with our government here on behalf of our family and our people back home, by writing and calling to our Congress people, and advocating for politicians who are still focused on this issue. I think Afghanistan has too quickly been swept under the rug. We see all the focus that's happening on Ukraine right now, which is of course a tragedy in its own right, but I think we see the difference in the number of refugees that are being accepted by Western countries from Ukraine compared to the number of refugees that have been accepted from Afghanistan, both the United States and other Western nations. And I think that's another prong of the approach, to allow people who no longer desire to be in Afghanistan to leave if they need to. While the long-term hope is, of course, a united, prosperous Afghanistan. Until that's achieved, if there are people that want to leave and want to pursue opportunities elsewhere, I think we have an obligation, particularly in the United States, but the rest of the world, to provide those opportunities. So without having a solid plan in place myself, or knowing of any actions being particularly taken right now, I think that two-pronged approach is our best bet. Continuing political pressure to try to engage with providing those resources back to Afghanistan, and hopefully as a result bringing them more within to the international sphere, and hopefully imposing some more obligations on things like minimum requirements such as providing education to women and providing educational opportunities to women, and also providing more refugee support for people who do want to and need to leave. There are a number of orgs that are advocating on behalf of these different groups. Ours is one of them, but there are many others out there as well. And so finding ways to support those organizations. And honestly, the question that you're asking is exactly the type of question that we hope to address at our conference. We engage in multiple issues. We try to make it have an impact across different spheres. There is professional networking, there is the socialization aspect and preserving of the culture, but there's also an effort to identify the issues that are impacting our community and impacting our diaspora, and trying to find creative solutions to address those problems. So while I don't have a great concrete answer right now, my hope is that by bringing our community together and engaging these conversations, we can find greater and more particularized answers going forward.
Well, I'm glad I'm giving you practice then, right?
Exactly. You're helping me out. You're getting me ready for these conversations that we're going to have. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Nadima John and Sarah John, do you guys have anything to add?
I think the only thing, sorry.
It's okay, go ahead, Sarah.
I think the only thing that will really comes to mind for me that we as everyday citizens can do is just starting off with bringing awareness. You know, like, I don't want to diminish what Ukraine is going through, but I think we need to kind of bring Afghanistan a light in the same level. We are able to support multiple causes at once, and so I think people only putting all of their energy towards one cause is not going to be very beneficial. But if we continue to raise awareness about the day-to-day struggles that our family and friends are going through, then that is going to be one of the first steps that we can take.
Sarjan, did you want to? Did I already ask you? Sorry, I'm multitasking.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. So, yeah, it's very sad. I mean, no matter what we say, it's not going to from here. I wish we could do something. We don't know how they feel because it's not the same. But hopefully خدا مهربان است که بعد از هر تاریکی یک روشنایی میآید، بعد از هر شب تاریک یک روز روشن است. و امیدوار هستم که این شب تاریک یک شب دراز و بسیار طولانی نباشه برای دختران هموطن ما در داخل کشور. خب آله میریم در مورد conference صحبت میکنیم. If you guys can tell me, what is the Afghan American Community Organization? What is it about?
Yeah, I can start off on that. So we are all about just uniting the Afghan American community. So a big thing is we really want to invite anyone who identifies as Afghan American. So regardless of your background, your gender, your sexual orientation, your religion, anything like that, you are welcome with us. So it's all about, just promoting, uniting our community, and then seeing how we can help one another.
And I'll go ahead and just kind of piggyback off of Saharjan and what she said. We started off as just the Afghan American Conference in 2015, and that was in Northern California. And quickly, instead of just the 10 or 12 people that originally initiated it, it turned into a conference with about almost 400 people, I want to say, at some locations. So it grew a lot. And progressively, we went to DC, we went to New York, back to California. We wanted to make it accessible for as many people as possible. We wanted it to be an event that all Afghan Americans can come together at. And we were able to, in 2019, get our nonprofit status, which then in 2020 allowed us to rebrand. So we were no longer just the Afghan American Conference, but we became the Afghan American Community Organization, which is now our registered 501c3 nonprofit that we are all members of. And it is entirely volunteer-based. None of us are getting paid for it. but we just love to dedicate our time and our hard work and our efforts to such a great cause. So in 2020, we were able to become our nonprofit, and then in 2021, we were able to expand on that as well. So in 2018, we started our scholarship program, which I know I've spoken to you, Mariam John, about it a little bit, but we've already donated over $225,000 to about 40 scholarship recipients. And that I remember, again, when I was a scholarship recipient myself, I was not a part of the organization. I was just a normal girl in Denver, Colorado, who was looking to pay for my schooling, and the Afghan American organization was able to help me out with that. So together, we've been able to do a lot of civic engagement, a lot of advocacy for Afghans here as well as back home in Afghanistan. We were able to gather $65,000 just last year and buy $700,000 worth of medical supplies to deliver to Afghanistan hospitals and deliver trauma kits and everything like that over there too. So as much as we are for the people in the United States and Afghan Americans here, the people in Afghanistan are never far from us. We always want to do better for them as well. And this year, Banquet, we plan on doing the same thing with our scholarship program coming up, our conference Banquet in June, and so much more.
Very good.
And just to try to encapsulate our organization, our vision statement is an empowered, engaged, and supportive Afghan American community. And our mission is to advance that community through education and outreach and to promote civic and social engagement. And so I think all these things that Sahar and Nadima talked about are focused on those prongs. The conference is focused on bringing our community together in social engagement, preserving our culture, preserving our identity as Afghans while still being Americans as well, supporting education through our scholarship programs, and then our civic engagement, which we handle on multiple fronts, both with the fundraising work we try to do on behalf of Afghanistan and also our advocacy work that we've been doing more recently, as so many other organizations have been on behalf of refugees and newly arriving Afghans in the United States. So everything comes back to the ultimate idea of a empowered, supportive, and engaged community. So that drives everything we do and shapes what we try to do and what we're trying to do going forward. These are what we've done in the past and what we're going to continue to do, but we're always looking for ways that we can expand our footprint as well and support our community further.
Very good. So would this be a good time for us to display the clip that you sent us?
Yeah, you can go ahead and display the AAC launch video, and then we'll go into talking about this year's conference specifically.
Okay. Go ahead.
We come to the Afghan American Conference to find a community that is empowered, engaged, and supportive, because we need that, all of us. To find mentors who will give us the courage to start on new journeys, and to join a network that will guide us in conquering all of our dreams. Together, we join, full of passion, optimism, and acceptance, engaging each other in honest and challenging conversations without the fear of judgment. Somehow, vulnerability feels good in a place like this. We uplift each other's voices while also embracing our culture and our differences. We leave not just better united, but reborn with a better sense of vision, identity, and pride. The 2022 Afghan American Conference, back and better than ever.
All right. So if I may ask, what made the three of you be part of the Afghan American Conference? How did you guys decide to join? Maybe Nadima John, can you tell us first?
Yeah, of course. So I pretty much grew up all my life in Denver, Colorado. So there's not a lot of Afghans there. It was pretty much just me and my little collection of Safi family members who, again, they're second and third cousins who quickly became my siblings, basically. But I just always longed for another sense of community. You know, it's different having your cousins, Shukar, I had them, but I also wanted another sense of community. And my parents, alhamdulillah, did a really good job of teaching me, you know, Farsi and teaching me about our Afghan culture and the food and the dancing and the music and everything like that. They did a really good job with, but I kind of wanted to do something for myself. So I remember in high school, that's when I began, you know, displaying my culture a little bit more, talking to my friends about the Afghan culture, and they loved it. And much to my surprise, honestly, because I'm sure a lot of us can relate, we were bullied for being from Afghanistan for a portion of our lives. And for me, that was all throughout elementary and middle school. I almost was embarrassed of it, which is really disheartening to talk about now. But alhamdulillah, in high school and in college, I was able to branch out and I was just solely proud of my Afghan culture. And then that's when I was also paying for school. So I was working over 40 hours a week. I would work 5 in the morning until 12 o'clock in the afternoon at one job, and then 1 to 10 p.m. at my other job. And it was all because, you know, education is so important to me. My parents have always taught me that my education is what someone can never take away from me. So Shukad, I was still in university, but I needed to find a way to pay for it. And that's where I had heard about the Afghan American Community Organization. I had heard about the Afghan American Conference, but I was always too young to attend because I was under the age of 18. But then finally, when I was able to apply for the scholarship, and I did, I got it. And I submitted that application 10 minutes before the deadline. I submitted it at like 11:50 at night, Denver time, not thinking anything of it. But Shukad, I got it. And just through that, I saw when they posted my picture on Instagram, for example, all these people I didn't know were reaching out to me, congratulating me, telling me what a good job I did, telling me how proud they are of me. And I felt like I finally had that community. And then the next year, 2020, I was able to go ahead and apply to become a member for the next upcoming year, so 2021. And I became a part of the marketing committee. So through that, I don't just do marketing. I'm glad because in our space, we do a really good job of sharing the work. So we all help with conference and we all help with scholarships. And that all means so much to me because, again, it's more than just an organization based on just the conference. We do so much more for Afghanistan and the people of Afghanistan that are also here in the United States.
Thank you. Sarjan, what about you? Sarjan, do you hear us?
Sorry, I didn't hear my name. Yeah, for
Daydreaming?
me, it's very similar. I don't know very many Afghans. Actually, I grew up in Dallas, so there aren't very many of us, and if there are, I just haven't met them yet. And I really just wanted to find a community. You know, there are certain things about our culture that my American friends don't always understand, and I just really wanted people who could relate to me on certain aspects that, you know, just come from being Afghan American. And so when I heard about this organization, I kind of looked a little bit into what they do or what we do, and I was actually blown away because it's fairly new, yet it has had such a big impact. And I haven't come across anything else within our community that does the same things that we do. So it's just so powerful and meaningful to be part of this community. And I was also thinking back about how, you know, when my parents came to America, they relied heavily on the Afghan community to help them out. And I think right now it's very important for us to help our community members, even if it's just befriending them, being kind to them, sharing a positive word. You know, we all need to support one another now more than ever.
Very good. Yusuf John?
I think I share the sentiment. I grew up very disassociated from my Afghan identity. My dad's Afghan, but my mom is born and raised in the United States, not Afghan, and so um, I also grew up in Fresno, California, which does not have a large Afghan population, and so I truly didn't know any. Like I knew about maybe two or three other Afghans growing up outside of my dad and my brothers, because even extended family, no one was nearby, so I didn't have any kind of connection to that. And I went to my first conference in 2016 at UCLA, and I went with a few cousins that I knew, but I wasn't particularly close with at the time. And I have, after going to that first conference, I went to 3 additional conferences and I built a community that I never thought I would be a part of, that I could have. Honestly, I think if you had told me in 2015, before I'd ever gone to my first conference, that I'd be sitting talking to you, Mariam John, on Afghan television to an audience of Afghans about the Afghan American Conference, I would not have possibly believed it, because it's just not something I thought I could be a part of or be accepted in until I started attending the conference. And so I've developed some really deep and meaningful friendships. I've connected with my identity further. I've found a way to connect with my father more about our shared culture and history, and about and with other members of my community, and have found ways to engage and support my community here and my community back in Afghanistan. So all those things led me to want to be a part of the organization, to join the leadership, so that, in particular, join the conference leadership, so that I could present these opportunities for other Afghan Americans who might feel the same way I do, or even other Afghan Americans who are very deeply connected to their identity and deeply connected to their community, but are looking for places that they can engage in doing a little bit more and identifying the issues that our community faces, and trying to do something about them. So that's what drew me to joining the organization. And if you wouldn't mind, I would love to talk a little bit about what someone who might be coming to the conference could expect to experience, if we have time to go over that.
Sure. Yes.
So the conference is a 3-day event that will be taking place from June 17th through 19th. We cover breakout sessions that deal with various issues, including culture and connection. So we kind of start things off light, but making sure that we're preserving our culture. We have sessions about learning how to atan, which is something that I still need to attend because my atan is weak and I need to work on it. History of Afghanistan, Afghan music, all these kinds of things that help us connect with our cultural aspects of our identity. We also have industry leadership and skill building panels, sessions. We have professional panels where, if you're interested in going into the law, there's a panel on that is handled by professional attorneys. There is a health and medicine panel. There's a tech panel, a finance panel. If there's an industry you're interested in, there's a good chance we have a panel where you can go sit in and learn about that industry from people who work in it. So it's a great opportunity for students to come and learn more about the professional path they want to pursue. We have community sessions that focus on particular issues in the dynamics of how our Afghan American community interacts. One of the biggest ones and popular ones is gender dynamics. I think it touches upon what we talked about at the beginning of the show. Men and women are treated differently in Afghanistan, obviously, but to a large extent, they are often very much treated differently here in the Afghan American community here. And it's an issue that we want to talk about and address over the course of the weekend. We have brave spaces, which go into really sensitive issues, things that are a little bit more taboo generally to be talked about, but we try to provide a space to engage with them, to engage with things like people who are struggling with addiction. How do we handle that within our community? How can we do a better job of handling that within our community? And then we have safe spaces, which are designed to only be attended by members of a particular community. The best example of that is we have gender caucuses. So at the end of the conference, all the male attendees go to one caucus, all the female attendees go to another caucus, and we are introducing a non-binary gender caucus as well that will exist at the conference this year. And within those caucuses, each gender gets the opportunity to talk about issues that they face and that everyone in there has faced because they share that particular aspect of their identity, and they have the opportunity to do it in a space safe from the eyes of people who are not part of that shared community. So those are the sessions that you can expect to experience at the conference. But in addition to that, those are breakout sessions you can attend. Some events happen at the same time. For example, when I was talking about culture, the history of Afghanistan session occurs at the same time as the music of Afghanistan session. So you get to pick and choose which particular topic you're most interested in and sitting in on and learning about and engaging in discussion about with. But we also have plenary sessions where everyone at the conference attends. We have a keynote speaker who addresses, who's oftentimes a accomplished member of the community who gives the keynote address for the weekend. We also have what we call seed speakers who give, for lack of a better word, TED-style talks that address a particularly inspiring aspect of their personal story or something that they've done or overcome or an experience that they've had that they want to share with the larger community. And in those spaces, we also just kind of go over, we connect all together as one and go over the ground rules for the weekend and remind ourselves of why we're there, what we're committed to getting from the weekend, and refocusing on those goals throughout the conference. And we also have a banquet on Saturday night, which is where we come together, we eat really delicious Afghan food, and we watch musical performances from Afghan artists, members of our community. And oftentimes the night ends in a giant atan where the 400 plus attendees break out into an atan until there's only the truly capable ones left standing, twirling at the end, where I've tapped out about 30 minutes before that's happened. And then one other really big component I like to talk about is for people who might be intimidated by all this. Someone like me who attended and didn't know any other Afghans, didn't even really feel very Afghan in some ways, is cohorts. Cohorts are these small groups that meet throughout the weekend at the conference. They are about 15 to 20 people, and there are two cohort leads, one man, one woman, that lead the cohort and help facilitate conversations throughout the weekend. The cohorts connect before the conference via Zoom, so they have a few at least familiar faces that they'll see at the conference, and they'll have one or two meetings every day of the conference where they get to check in with each other on a smaller scale, with only those few other people that you see every day at the conference and that you get to connect with and have the opportunity to build relationships with. Particularly if you're a little bit more shy, it might be easier to connect on that smaller scale than it is in a session where maybe there's 100 people or 40 people. And you get to have those conversations. Another great aspect about it is, as I mentioned, there's multiple sessions that happen during each of our blocks. And so you might be really interested in going to 2 or 3 sessions, but you can only go to one. Cohorts give you an opportunity to hear about what you missed throughout the weekend. And finally, we also have an action planning session at the conference where we kind of take what was discussed over the weekend and try to distill it into some particularized issues. What are the biggest problems we're facing as a community right now, and what do we want to do about them, and try to identify some concrete steps, like we were talking about at the beginning, that people can take to address these issues going forward and to handle the conference or handle those issues and try to address them. So that's kind of the broad encapsulation of the weekend, which I know is a lot of information. But I do want to add, I want to give Sahar and Nadima a chance to add anything if they would like to.
Sure.
I think it's just an opportunity to just develop pride in your identity, and that's what I'm most looking forward to. Developing that sense of pride and that connection with the community. I really love that we are pushing, acceptance of everyone and the safe spaces where no matter your background, no matter your experiences, you can come and be welcome. So I think that's something that really speaks to me about the conference.
Very good.
I completely agree with everything Sahar John and Yusuf John said. As far as the action planning goes, every year we do have kind of like regional action planning that goes on. So our 4 main regions, I guess, are Southern California, Northern California, the DMV, and then as well as the tri-state region. And this year especially, we're definitely going to emphasize everything that's going on back home in Afghanistan. And just like Mariam John, how you had mentioned to us how I guess we can help them, especially with everything that's going on right now. In my opinion, our community has gotten very disconnected. We haven't had an in-person conference since 2019. And Shukad, we were able to have our virtual one last year, but it just doesn't have the same effect as far as like being together with everyone and being able to have that dialogue that we all think is so important. So this year we're all going to come together and come up with a plan of action, because I mean, like, you were able to talk to us three, but I know someone out there has a concrete idea that they can implement, and maybe they just need a little bit of help from our organization to do so. So inshallah, I'm really hopeful that these action planning sessions are going to be both advantageous to everyone in Afghanistan, inshallah, as well as everyone here. And back to our impact in 2021, we were able to distribute over $600,000 of funds to different organizations to action plan. So during those action planning sessions at the conference too, we can see where that money can go. Because I feel like it's a little bit harder to just, or I guess it's easier, right, to say this money can just go to Afghanistan, but as far as planning what is going to be done with that money, that's what we need help with too.
Very good. So I like to replay the your launch video. And meanwhile, if you wanna, in the background, if you wanna add some information related to it, please feel free to speak up while the video is playing. Yes.
We come to the Afghan American Conference to find a community that is empowered, engaged, and supportive. Because we need that, all of us. To find mentors who will give us the courage to start on new journeys, and to join a network that will guide us in conquering all of our dreams. Together, we join, full of passion, optimism, and acceptance, engaging each other in honest and challenging conversations without the fear of judgment. Somehow, vulnerability feels good in a place like this. We uplift each other's voices while also embracing our culture and our differences. We leave not just better united, but reborn with a better sense of vision, identity, and pride. The 2022 Afghan American Conference, back and better than ever.
All right. So if you can kindly tell us about the location and the deadline and any other details, we'll appreciate that.
That part yet, so thank you for asking, Mariam. The conference will take place June 17th through 19th in UC Davis, in Davis, California, which is about, I think, half an hour or so outside of Sacramento, California. The deadline to apply, and we appreciate you getting us on last minute, because this is last minute, but the deadline to apply is actually midnight tonight. The application is available at aa-co.org, and that you can apply via that application. The application must be received by tonight to be considered. I will also note that we have not set there is no fee to apply. So you can apply and decide if you actually want to come later after we send out acceptances and registration information. But there is a fee to attend the conference. There is cost associated with renting out the space.
Right.
We do provide food and beverage throughout the weekend. And there's just a number of other administrative costs associated with putting on the conference. And so the registration fee goes to help offset those costs. The registration fee we charge actually doesn't cover the full cost of the conference, but it helps offset those costs. And historically, we have charged about $100, $99 for students, and in the range of $160 to $180 or so dollars for professionals. We chose UC Davis this year partially to reconnect with the Northern California community, which we hadn't connected with them since our first conference, which was held at Berkeley in 2015. But another reason we chose it is because it's actually the largest space that we've ever had for the conference. And so we're able to accept more participants than we ever had in the past. And we believe that'll help offset the cost a bit more as well. So we haven't set those fees yet, but we will be setting them. We also do provide fee waivers for participants who would like to attend who are experiencing financial hardship. So we do have a process for that as well that will go out with registration information. So we hope that cost isn't a barrier, but it's a necessary component of putting on the conference. Nadima or Sahar, would you like to add anything?
Before they add anything, I just want to give everyone a word of reassurance. Those of you who are worried that, oh, it's due this evening, the deadline is this evening, just remember that Nadima John applied the last couple of hours and she got accepted. So I don't know if that's setting a good example or not, but that should motivate you. That just take it as a good luck sign that if you turn in your application late, you'll get accepted. So don't be discouraged. Please do it.
I will add that we also get quite a large number of applications on the last day, so you will be in good company. In addition to being in company with Nadima John, you'll be in good company with everyone else that is applying on the last day as well. So
It
thank you
wasn't
for
to
pointing
pick
that
on
out.
Nadima John. I'm a procrastinator myself, but I work much better under pressure. And sometimes the last minute, some people probably who plan ahead, they didn't know, and they know now about it, they probably worry. So I just want to make sure that they don't have to worry, right? Anything
I
else? Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to add, you took the words right from me. I was gonna say I did apply to the scholarship. I kid you guys not, I'm not over exaggerating, 10 minutes before it was due. So maybe not 10 minutes, maybe a couple hours before the application's due tonight, but we want to see you all there, Bahide. And if you think that your kids would be interested, your nieces, your nephews, your grandkids, if you guys are watching, please tell them about it. And again, they can go on our Instagram, Afghan American Community Organization, and see kind of what we're all about. They can go on our website, aa-co.org, and see past agendas. So they're able to see exactly what we did on our last conferences the last few years and kind of see if that's something that they're going to be interested in. But I will say it's an experience that is unforgettable. And I've only heard positive things about it. And this year, our slogan is back and better than ever, because inshallah, that's what we plan to be, is back and better than ever. And again, after being disconnected for such a long time, I think it's going to be a really special conference, especially because it's back where we started in Northern California. But we do want to see you all there. And again, applications are due tonight at midnight.
Is there age limit for people who are applying, or requirement like a prerequisite or anything?
We don't have a hard age limit, I would say. Historically, we have had attendees be in the 18 to 40 range. I will say we have an age minimum requirement. You have to be at least 18 and out of high school to apply. But the age cap is just historically, by the way that people have applied and the number of people that have come, it's usually around 40. But we have had participants older than that age come and attend. So I wouldn't say there's a hard age cap at all.
And why do you ask everyone to apply instead of accepting everyone?
I'm happy to answer. I just feel like I've been talking a lot, so.
Okay.
I'll touch on that real quick, and then you guys can kind of add anything else you guys would like to do, along with how Yusuf John mentioned that there are costs associated to it. The conference has always been kind of like a hotspot where a lot of people would like to apply and attend the conference, and unfortunately space is limited. I will say that at the University of California, Davis this year, which is our venue, we are able to have a larger venue than years prior. So inshallah, I'm hoping that that means we're able to accept a couple more people, not a couple, but more people than previous years. But we do have to have an application process because space is limited. And then another thing is because we are going to have really serious dialogue at the conference, we want people there who also want to be there, and we want people there who want to participate and contribute to this dialogue. So there are going to be some tough conversations that are going to be had there, and we want people who are putting thought into their applications. Again, I'm not saying spend hours and hours on filling out your application, especially because you guys are just now hearing about this the day of, when the deadline is in a couple hours, but we'll be able to tell that you guys put thought into your applications, and I think that gives you a leg up anyway, regardless, is because we want people who actually want to be there and want to be part of the community engagement.
Very good. And how do you select your participants?
So we use the application that people submit, and it actually goes into an anonymous review process. So we don't want to know who the person that we're reviewing is. We don't want any of that bias to creep in. So it actually can be a problem when your cousin or brother is like, Joseph, why didn't I get into the conference? Well, I might have reviewed your application, but I didn't know it was you, so I couldn't have given you a leg up even if I wanted to. And so we also have paired reviewers for each application so that we can see if there's consistency in the scoring that is applied to those applications. And if there's not, then we have a third reviewer look at it to try to average and split the scores to find the right one that applies to the application. So we apply a rubric that we use to review application responses, and we factor that in with some demographic data. And we come up with a raw score for each application. And then depending on the number of applications we have and the number of spots we have, the raw score cutoff is determined to put it at the right number so that we have the right number of acceptances for the right number of spots that we have. So that's the general overview of the process and how it works. But we try to be as fair and impartial as possible because, as Nadima John said, it's really just about making sure that people want to be there and are ready to have the conversations they have, and because we just have limited space at the end of the day and we have to draw a line somewhere, and this seemed like the most fair way to do so.
Very good. And typically, how many people attend each year?
So in past years, I would say it's been around 400 to 450 total participants. Depending on COVID, we could go well above that this year, but it's going to depend on what restrictions need to be in place, depending on what kind of variations and strains there are in the general populace at the time. It seems like things are going relatively well right now, knock on wood. So inshallah, we'll be able to have an even larger number of attendees and participants than we've had in years past.
Very good. So, your past conferences, what places, what states, what areas were they? Where did you guys hold your conferences in the past?
So the first conference was in 2015 in UC Berkeley in Northern California. The second conference was in 2016 in UCLA, Southern California. The third conference was in George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Because again, I think this goes to Nadima's point about our main areas. We were trying to hit all the spots. And so our fourth conference was in NYU, I believe, in New York City. So that kind of hit our four main regions. And then we came back to Southern California for our fifth conference. We went to UC Irvine, a little farther south than LA, still north of San Diego, where there is another large Afghan population, but hitting the Southern California area. And now we're back in Northern California this year. It'll be an open question for a while where next year's conference will be. We do try to take into consideration where we've been and where we haven't been for a while. I will note we haven't been to the Midwest or the South. I know Sahara would love if the next conference was in Texas. Yes. So, there's all these options out there that we'll have to consider in future years as well.
Very good, thank you. Are there any questions that I have not asked you, or anything that you still would like the viewers to know and I have not asked you or you haven't talked about? Because we still have about a few more minutes.
I think one thing I'll add on to, just because I kind of touched upon it, is we haven't set our COVID protocols yet. Okay. And related to what I just mentioned, that's because I think what we've learned throughout this pandemic is that things with COVID can change very quickly, and they can change very drastically. So we wanted to wait till it was a little closer to the actual event to set our protocols in place. We will set them before acceptance emails and registration emails go out. We want you all to know what we are generally thinking. Of course, those will be subject to change based on the situation on the ground. But as an example of what we did for the kickoff events, which was based on what the situation was at the time about a month ago, we did require that everyone provide proof of full vaccination. And because we required that, we did not require masking at the indoor kickoff events. That's what we did for the kickoff events. What we do for the actual conference may vary, and it's just going to be based on what the actual situation is. We're fortunate to have a couple doctors both on our conference, on our conference committee, on our general organizing committee, and as well as on our board of directors that can help advise us on the best protocols to put in place. But we will definitely be keeping safety of everyone front of mind and thinking about that.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Do you have any other information؟ دوست عزیز اگر شما هم سوال دارین میتونین سوالتون رو پست کنین یا تلفن کنین. ددلاین اپلیکیشن امشب البته it's what time zone is the deadline tonight? We just
It'll be 11:09 p.m. Pacific, yes.
Pacific Standard Time 9 p.m. Okay. کسایی که به ایست کوست هستن برای شما 12 شب تا اون وقت میتونین که اپلیکیشنتان رو سابمیت کنین. Well, thank you all very much for coming, and thank you for the great information. Thank you for the great service that you're providing. I'm very proud of all of you, and I wish you best of luck.
Thank you very much for having us. We really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, they can reach out on our Instagram at Afghan American Community Organization, and stay tuned for our scholarship announcements as well to come.
What is that?
Inshallah, in the next month, I'll make sure to do that sooner than this meeting. Mariam John.
All right, thank you. Thanks again. Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you.
دوست عزیز ارجمند، امیدوارم که کسایی که فرزندان دارن که به سن کالج باشن و یا به سینیر های اسکول از 18 ساله و بالا اگر علاقه داشته باشن که در این کانفرانس شرکت کنن، حتما امروی جوانا به تماس شوین و هم میتونین به من ایمیل کنین و دوباره براتون لینک روان کنم و در فیسبوک هم میبینین دوباره این برنامه را که لینکشان تمام معلوماتشان اینجا است. به یوتیوب هم لینکش میگذارم براتون که حتما یک جایی است که همه جوانای ما یک جای میشن، همه جوانای تحصیل کرده و نام خدا به جا رسیده و فهمیده که از فهم و دانش همدیگر میآموزن، از تجربه دیگر میآموزن، به اصطلاح یک نتورک میکنن که با همدیگر آشنا میشن، شاید برای همدیگر راههای بسیار خوب را نشان بدن که چطور مثلا یک کار خوبتر به رشته خود پیدا کنن و یک رشته در موردش نمیفهمن شاید بیاموزن. بسیار چیزایی را در اینجا میتونین که از تجربه از استفاده کنین و بیاموزین و امیدوارم که اشتراک کنین. خب با تشکر مجدد از مهمانان عزیز ما ندیمه جان صافی، سحر جان یعقوبی و یوسف جان محمود و همکار عزیزم و همچون از شما بینندگان عزیز و ارجمند که همیشه از برنامه ها قدردانی میکنین، برنامه امروز با اینجا با پایان میرسانیم. تا هفته آینده خداوند یار و مددگارتان. خداحافظ.
توانا بود ارکی دانا بود، ز دانش دل پیر برنا بود.
آریانا افغانستان یگانه شبکه تلویزیونی ملی افغان‌ها در خارج از کشور